I say the purpose is to explore the essence of learning using instructional videos, looking at the lived experience, which is a key word here, and through 20 long interviews. It's important to talk about significance, and I'm in love with this idea of the black swan on page 24, where you probably read about it. But the idea is that something that is a black swan is something that was believed not to exist, right? In the middle, before they went to Australia, they used to say, like when we say now, when pigs fly, they used to say that's a black swan, something that doesn't exist, like a unicorn. But eventually they found some in Asia. So the idea behind the black swan by Taleb, that guy that comes from finance, says something that started as an outlier, that is outside the ordinary, that may become very important, and for which the world is making explanations after the fact, which is exactly what I said before, that the theory is lagging. Also under significance, and these are ideas from Howard Gardner that writes History of Leadership. He talks about leadership as storytelling. A leader must have a story, have an audience, understand the organization, embody in their own actions whatever they're saying, present these stories through themselves or through their leadership team, and then explain through expertise. I really enjoyed reading that when I found it. I say, oh, that's a clue to connect what I'm doing here to leadership. On page 26, what we have is spelled out the research question, exactly as it's stated in the proposal. After using short videos for learning, what is the revised individual point of view regarding the internal mindset, right? Looking inside, internal mindset towards this media, and external outlook. What do these people that I interview think is going to happen to the learning world? So, making progress, we're research method here, real quick, quantitative, empirical, transcendental, phenomenological. I don't want to get too slowed down with those questions because we can spend an hour talking about those. But to get to the point, on page 29, the last one, the runner-up to me as a research design, was the grounded theory. The grounded theory looks for processes, variables, and causality with an intention of generating a theory. And initially, I thought that was what I wanted to do, and I think with your help and others, I was straightened out to say that might be a little too ambitious, and also not perhaps going deep into what we're looking for. And then I found some other phenomenology. Quite a few, by the way, on the University of Phoenix that have done this phenomenology using Mostaka's process. It seems to be what we wanted to do, to get to the data itself, to the naive descriptions. And there's a quote right there. To say to me what this research method means, and I use the word epoch, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right, but what it means is that I, as a researcher, need to separate myself and my biases as much as possible from contaminating the findings. So I need to be skeptical, but then I need to rely on vivid descriptions, on transcripts, word by word, organize the word by word into clusters of ideas, then see what they tell me all together, and then extract the conclusions. And with the and then I quote Kuhn right there, because I think it's a fabulous little book that somebody made me read initially in this program, because if I were to find an anomaly, I say, oops, that's where I need to drill in. So I really like that. I think whenever I found an anomaly, especially in the chapter, all the chapter sections of the conclusions end up with things that were not what the mainstream said, and I put it there, say, hey, 3 or 5 people or 10 or 12 said this and that, but there was one that was going the wrong way or that was saying something different. I'm not sure. You see, I already biased by saying it's the wrong way. I don't think that somebody that opposes the mainstream is the wrong way. But anyways, moving forward, page 31, the methodology, going very specifically to what is called the tetrad of media effects. And those words are exactly coming out of Marshall McLuhan. The questions are, and these questions were the questions posed to the participants, what does this media, this short video for learning, enhance or intensify? What does this short video for learning retrieve that was previously obsolete? What does this short video produce or become when pressed to the extreme? And what does it retrieve that was previously obsolete? That these questions are interlocking. So the participant answered one question and then went to the other one and, oops, I need to revise my answer to the first question. It provoked them to rethink. For instance, the question about retrieves says, let's think way past. What comes from the very past? Forces the people to look way back into the past. And then reverses into, when pressed to the extreme, forces them to go like science fiction into the future. And often these things opposed. So we went in circles. And when I say this video or this particular item, is that we never talked about the videos in general. We were always during the interview analyzing a specimen. We started with one specimen that we saw together, and then we went to video specimens in particular that they recalled from their mind. So we were not just talking about generalities. There was always a specific context. So conclusions, I'm moving forward. The conclusion starts exactly where we left the last chapter on page 33. This is perhaps where I need to go a little bit slower. This is the keystone of the presentation. So on page 33, I say, what does it enhance? Right? What does this format, this media, helps us do? Certainly, first and foremost, anything that has visual content. Rarely there is a video about teaching poetry. Poetry doesn't relate very well to visual content. Perhaps there isn't much on philosophy other than videotapes of professors talking about it. But what there is plenty is how to change a tire, fix some device, operate a computer, operate a forklift, all the things that have intensive visual content. For sure, that's what it enhances. Second, I mentioned this a little bit in passing on the movie camera. Anything where the nonlinear timeline is going to help us see something. For instance, I put something in the oven. It takes 30 minutes in the oven. I don't need to wait. I just skip forward. So whoever is teaching me how to cook skips forward and jumps into the future and shows me the cake or whatever I was baking. And this applies also backwards. Maybe I show poor outcome and good outcome. Say, hey, here's a problem. Now let me teach you how to do it well. And then let's go back in time and let me teach you or show you what was wrong. So this repeating a timeline is extremely useful when going back and forth. Anyways. Then I would say whenever the media helps me with the learning curve, and there's many ways of thinking about the learning curve. For instance, if I need to learn something real quick to, I don't know, open my door lock, and I'm standing outside and I have my phone with me, I might find a video that helps me do just that. I don't need to go to the hardware store nor to get a degree in mechanics. It's right there. So that's kind of moving into the just-in-time aspect, but the learning curve is going to be faster. Second, if I have media that is fast or too fast for some student and too slow for another one, I can make the video fast and have the person that is not getting it see it several times. I myself end up watching videos to learn how to do software several times, or pause it and move, do it, come back, pause it, move. That increases my learning curve, or anybody that understands these possibilities. Just in time, I was a little bit ahead of myself a moment ago, is the idea that you get this knowledge whenever you are, wherever you need it. The best example is, I don't know if you remember the movie The Matrix, but this lady needs to operate a helicopter, and through some mind transfer, they give him the knowledge to operate a helicopter right there on the spot. Of course, this is beyond science fiction. This is cartoon talking, right? Last there, I would say the student-to-self feedback is what enhances the most. And this contradicts a little or opposes what's on the opposite corner there. But if I'm doing something like I do a lot of stuff in my computer with the Apple software, and I have nobody to teach me, but Apple has very good videos out. So I do something, watch the video, see it do, go. I'm giving feedback to myself by putting the videos side by side. Example from one of the participants, he had a problem with his fish tank, and he couldn't figure out how to clean the water and what exactly the water looked like. So he found a video, went to the video, looked at his fish tank, went to the video, added something to the water. A week later, went to the video, looked at the water, and eventually figured out how to get those whatever contaminants, not contaminants, algae, I think it was. But he figured out by going back and forth between the video and giving feedback to himself. Now, I want to go to the opposite corner, to the obsolescence, because that talks about other types of feedback, right? So I'm doing this. These questions are interlocked. The feedback that is going to make it difficult is the teacher-to-student feedback, because they're no longer in the same space. And the student-to-teacher feedback. These are extremely important for many reasons. The teacher-to-student feedback is, hey, you're not doing this right. Right? The teacher says, this is the right way, this is the wrong way, puts it on the video. The student is doing it wrong, and the teacher can't tell because they're removed in time and space. Now, there could be other remedies like having email, I don't know what other things, but it's clearly a shortcoming there. And second, the student-to-teacher feedback, because the student can say, hey, I already understood that, please move on, right? Even if it's in a large classroom, if all the students are nodding, the professor says, yeah, keep going, sure, go. Or if the students have this nodding, puzzling face, they look completely mesmerized, the professor can go back and say, hey, do we need to spend a little more time here? That is not going to happen in the video. And last there is that maybe the student-to-student question within the classroom, right? The interaction of chaining of questions. I spent some time, at least 6 or 8 of the participants had experience producing videos. And one of them in particular pointed out to this, what she called chaining of questions that happens during the class that is clearly not present. Now, I don't want to solve the problem just yet. There's time towards the end of the presentation for my recommendations. I'm just going through the conclusions here. Going to the upper left corner, the reverses into when pressed to the extreme. I think what we have here is reach. Videos have tremendous reach if we were to do it well. It could convert into celebrities like Professor Wesch that has millions of viewers of his videos and is invited to speak in, I don't know, in the United Nations, right? He's a celebrity. I'm not sure that's either good or bad. I'm just saying it could go that way, and it's probably already happening. There's going to be a balance of new roles because some professors are going to be very good with theatrics. Others are going to be very good with putting together the material for video. And others are just going to be not good at all in putting together or producing this. But they might become good at using video in their classroom or as part of their material. So the roles are going to change. Again, going into the extreme, University of Phoenix student like myself ends up being a little lonely and isolated when all the homework is done online and everything is done in my little tower with very little interaction with anybody else. And I think many people remarked on that. And finally, the idea that this can become what is already happening in YouTube, a big fat mess. Entropy, confusion, and overload. You go to YouTube and you can get lost there. Anybody can get lost there, going from topic to topic in very unstructured, no architect behind this like a university or a school or an institute would have. So clearly that could go real bad. And then on the lower left, I think I already covered that, is it retrieves from the past the idea of a mentor, but not a real mentor, a one-on-one interaction. I can feel that I'm talking to the cook that is behind the video. I can feel close to somebody that answers my questions on the spot if I kind of have this surrogate for the mentor. It's a little bit stretched.